Let's head to Washington now, unless you're Rex Tillerson, in which case you're leaving it. It was breaking news this morning thanks to Donald Trump and Twitter, and if you follow Donald Trump, you may well have heard about it before. Rex Tillerson himself. The sacked Secretary of State is being replaced by CIA Director Mike Pompeo, a Trump loyalist, and it's thought a more comfortable subscriber to the blunter details of the president's America First policies. Now, the BBC's North American editor is Jon Sopel, who's based in Washington and joined us from there. Given the growing differences between Tillerson and Trump, I asked him if there was an inevitability about Trump showing Tillerson the door.
The thing about Rex Tillerson and Donald Trump is that they don't much like each other personally, and they don't agree on policy. Rex Tillerson hasn't shied away from telling Donald Trump when he thinks he's wrong. And so he's been much more critical about Russia. He is more supportive of the Iran nuclear deal than Donald Trump is. He was trying to open a diplomatic back channel with North Korea. Donald Trump said, "You must be joking." And so if you look at it, the stage was set for a showdown. And so no one should be surprised that it came. However, the kind of casual brutality of the manner of him being dispatched, I think left many in Washington, even those with steel-reinforced jawbones, to be slack-jawed by the manner in which it happened. A tweet from the president while Rex Tillerson is about to land at Joint Base Andrews after a long trip to Africa, saying Mike Pompeo is the new Secretary of State, farewell Rex Tillerson. And that was it. And that was the way the curtain came down on a one-time corporate titan who is now just political roadkill left on the side of the motorway.
Yes, as I hear you say that, that is absolutely true. And Tillerson didn't even see the tweet. Someone had to tell him about the tweet. Trump, we are told, called him 3 hours later. Is that right?
Yeah, so he didn't. I mean, look, they are just very different characters. You know, I suspect Rex Tillerson lived a rather refined life as having been the CEO of Exxon, of having flunkies falling around doing all these things for him, holding his, BlackBerry or holding his iPhone, and kind of him never having to do any of that sort of dirty stuff himself. He was not a Twitter user, and so the kind of excruciatingly, the chief of staff had to be the one to deliver the bad news. By the way, sir, I think you're out of a job. And that was how he found out. And they are just very, very different people, I think, as well, in the way that they operate. And I just think it was kind of, and also, I mean, I don't want the kind of people to think there's a simple narrative here. Brutal Donald Trump kills yet another member of his close circle because they were just critical. I mean, there were question marks over Rex Tillerson's competence, his bureaucratic skills at running the State Department. He made an awful lot of people kind of redundant, but didn't seem to have a plan of what he was going to do to rebuild the department. Lots of people lost their jobs. And in all sorts of parts of the world, you will find in the U.S. Embassy there are people acting up 5 grades above what their seniority suggests they should be doing. The place has been hollowed out, and there are an awful lot of vacancies that have not been filled, and there is a question of competence as well that hangs over Tillerson's period at the State Department. So yes, he did stand up to Donald Trump. Yes, he spoke truth to power. But was he in charge and an effective Secretary of State? I think history might actually cast quite a harsh judgment on him as well.
Gosh, there's a lot of issues to pick up on that, and I want to talk about his replacement, Pompeo, because the things you're talking about, the truth to power things, Pompeo is not going to do that with Trump, is he? But this leaves Trump increasingly exposed out on whatever unilateral position he is taking today or tomorrow or the next day. So the Kim Jong-un thing, which Tillerson didn't know about, and where lots of people are saying, tread carefully here, President, the kind of advisors who might tone him down, calm him down, temper him, are increasingly disappearing from his circle. Does this leave President Trump more exposed to getting it spectacularly wrong?
Well, John, let me just push back a bit. I mean, yes, Mike Pompeo is much more to the president's taste. He was a Republican congressman who was part of the Tea Party, who signed up to an awful lot of what the president signed up to as well. That said, he, as head of the CIA, he acknowledges Russian interference in the past elections and that they are continuing to interfere. You haven't heard Donald Trump on the record saying that in terms. So there are areas where Mike Pompeo has shown an independence of mind, and maybe when he gets to the State Department and he's running this behemoth of a department that with whose tentacles stretch around the world, that he will do that again. He's got the intellect and he's got the drive, so maybe he will make a better fist of it. But the question you raise is a good one. A lot of people, and General Mattis, Defence, one of the last men standing, as it were, from the original kind of people who were appointed only 15 months ago, says the way, the first part of any solution is through diplomacy. It's not through the military. The military is your backup. The military is what happens when everything else has been tried and has failed. Diplomacy is what happens first. And, there are an awful lot of people who are kind of looking at American leadership around the world and wondering what has happened to it. And, we know that the slogan is America first. But if America wants to kind of influence events, when it unilaterally said it was going to move its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, there was an overwhelming vote against at the United Nations. Now, is that what happens when you don't play that central role on the world stage? You think you know best. You're not going to listen to what allies and friends say to you. And hey, presto, the United Nations kind of turns its back on the United States. And that is the risk of what Donald Trump does at the moment. And that is something that, there are an awful lot of people in Washington and American friends around the world who are fearful of.
That's the BBC's North American editor, Jon Sopel, joining us from Washington.